This is a big problem this morning and over the course of the next couple of days. And unfortunately, we've got several other big problems to talk about too, including flooding in places that we don't need it, where we've already seen tremendous flooding, and that is in south central Texas. Got lots of rain falling right now. Much has already fallen, and flash flood warnings are in place. We're going to look at that. We're going to take a look at the severe threat. Several areas of the country could see severe weather today and tomorrow as well. And the National Hurricane Center, I said it right this time, has given us something to talk about. The GFS has been giving us several things to talk about so far this year, but much of it has been silly, but maybe this time it's on to something. We're going to look at that and see what kind of tropical mischief may be afoot. And we're going to end up with the long-range forecast that looks a little bit similar to what we've seen so far. So we're going to get into all of that and start right now at warp factor 5, because we've got a lot to get into this morning. Smoke is coming out of all of these wildfires, which are still burning up here in central Canada. It's making its way into the northern United States, and we've added another state to our air quality issues, and you can see that smoke coming in here. Hopefully at some point soon that wind will turn out of the west and blow all of this off into the other areas out of the states, but we'll see. There's additional wildfires burning in the states as well. You can see some of that smoke showing up here in southwest Colorado, where we've got air quality alerts there. But the big story this morning is flooding ongoing in central Texas. Look at this. These are your areas of where we're expecting potential flooding concerns today. Moderate risk down here in San Angelo, near San Antonio, where we've seen plenty of flooding already over the last couple of weeks. Central New Mexico. This slight risk extends all the way up into Oklahoma and Arkansas, back here in Missouri to Indiana. Southern parts of those states could see flooding with slow-moving thunderstorms in a very moist air mass. And then up here, Watertown, Buffalo, down through central Virginia, we're looking at potential flooding as well today. Tomorrow, we're looking at flooding around southeastern near Philadelphia, really back through DC and into central North Carolina near Raleigh, potentially as a line of thunderstorms slowly moves through the area, and Florida could see flooding concerns as well as excessive rainfall is expected down there, with a little tropical disturbance starting to get its act together, which we're going to look at in a minute. Here's the radar from San Angelo. Look at this. Big thunderstorms just dumping 2 inches of rain per hour in spots with some of these thunderstorms. Very moist air mass. These thunderstorms are having no trouble wringing out everything the air mass has to offer. And look at this, just big batch of heavy rain. Flash flood warnings from Sonora all the way over into San Antonio, and just seeing tons of rain coming down. You can see this a little bit better. There's flash flood watches up for everywhere, and then up here in San Antonio, flash flood warnings all the way back to Sonora. So lots of rain has fallen, up to 8 inches in spots, and we're seeing 2, 3, 4, 5 more inches of rain coming down. Creeks and streams are running high, folks, and you've got to take flash flood warnings seriously and seek higher ground when a flash flood emergency is issued. So make sure you've got a way to receive those alerts. Here's what's going on this morning. The future radar shows has a pretty good handle on it. And as you can see, as we put this on into motion, later this morning we get on into early afternoon. That line sort of pivots and moves off to the south and to the east, and additional storms fire up as we gain some heating of the day, and we get greater instability, and you see thunderstorms firing back up here in New Mexico as well, up into Oklahoma, and it diminishes overnight tonight as we head into tomorrow morning. See that spin in the atmosphere, it sort of remains in place, could be the focus for additional showers and storms tomorrow morning through the afternoon. And then again, south central and southeast Texas bears the brunt of the rain. Oklahoma, you've seen some thunderstorms fire off there too. We'll see a few more thunderstorms, a few more showers on Tuesday, and then that will diminish in intensity as we get on in through the first part of the week. We'll see a little bit less of those, but in the meantime, lots of flooding going on out here. Pay attention and stay vigilant. Here's the total precipitation through about 1 a.m. or so Tuesday morning. Look at this. Big area of over a foot of rain. Got a stripe here at 8 inches to a foot of rain. Some of this has already fallen, and the model is not going to be exact in terms of where it puts the heaviest rainfall, but just know anywhere in this area here in central and south central Texas, kind of working up toward near Dallas, these are the areas you could see plenty of rain and experience flash flooding. 2 inches of rain or higher is where kind of the bright reds start. You can see that extend all the way up into Oklahoma. So pay attention the next couple of days. Going to see a lot of rain over the next 48 hours in these areas, and you've got to really keep stressing that, but just pay attention to what's going on, and those streams and creeks can rise quickly. The ground is already saturated down there, so be on guard. Temperatures over the next couple of days. We're going to look at the severe threat next, but I want to show you a couple things before that. Temperatures in the northeast, not too bad in the 80s. Back here from the Great Lakes down through the south central plains, back into the 80s, so not bad here. We've got a little sort of a boundary in this area, so we'll see some clouds and things like that, but keep temperatures down. Back to the west, we're getting 90s up into the Canadian border. Interior sections of the western third of the nation and the valleys are particularly going to see temperatures in the hundreds. We've got extreme heat warnings, heat advisories up out here. Across the south, not too bad till you get down here into the southeast, where you see fine temperatures in the upper 90s today. Tomorrow, much the same pattern, just warms up a little bit, maybe a little bit cooler in the interior sections of the northwest as a trough starts to work in, but hundreds in South Dakota, the central plains in the 90s, desert southwest and the intermountain west in the hundreds again, and upper 90s in the southeast. It's going to be warm, it's going to be muggy. May see some heat advisories come out of this too, and warming up in the northeast as we get into Tuesday. Upper 80s all the way into the Great Lakes again, upper 90s in the southeast and the south central plains, and hundreds and 90s in the desert southwest, intermountain west, and cooling off a little bit up here in the northern plains as the trough works through. Maybe that will turn the winds and take some of that smoke out of here. There's your alert map. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, all under air quality alerts this morning. And again, if you have to be outside and exert yourself, you got to take frequent breaks. This stuff is bad for your lungs and it will make you feel bad. You could end up in the hospital, particularly if you're sensitive to it. Flood watches up here near Buffalo, Watertown, and places like that. Also in southeastern Oklahoma back through south central Texas, and you can see those flood warnings showing up there. Central New Mexico as well. Air quality for fire down here in southwestern Colorado. Here are all of your heat advisories that are up through the Intermountain West and along in the valleys of California too. Look at this from Las Vegas. Las Vegas 111 today, Death Valley 122. I know you see this from time to time, but it's still extremely hot. Barstow 109. So drink plenty of fluids, limit outside activities if you can. Wind, not too much of a problem. Central plains into the southeast could see a little bit of gusty winds up here in the northeast and down in the southwest as we get into some potentially gusting winds, gusting 20s into the 30s this afternoon down here in the Four Corners region. Also up in the Pacific Northwest too, we could see winds gusting into the 30s. There's a red flag warning up there as well. There's your air quality. Not quite any purples on the map today, but plenty of reds up here in the Great Lakes. Northern sections worse than the southern sections, but still going to be smoke in the air anywhere from the eastern Dakotas all the way through Michigan, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles up to Sacramento. Could see some air quality issues too. Had an earthquake up here near Northridge this morning, a 4.0 at a very shallow depth. We'll look at that in a second, but wonder if any of you felt that. But that's what's going on there, folks. Thunderstorms this afternoon possible anywhere from basically the northwest tip of Lake Superior down through northern Nebraska and to south central New Mexico, southeastern Arizona. Could see a few severe thunderstorms this afternoon and evening as we get on in through the day. Isolated, widely scattered severe thunderstorms from San Antonio up in toward St. Louis and just south of Indianapolis, and then slight risk up here in New York State, central New York State. We've got a little bit better shear, could organize a few thunderstorms into clusters. Wind is the primary threat, but that extends all the way down into north central North Carolina, and then the eastern 2/3 of Florida could see a few isolated severe thunderstorms. Not really a tornado threat, except here along a boundary in this area that's covers the boot heel of Missouri, western Kentucky, and then the southern areas of Indiana and Illinois. So pay attention, could see a spin up or two there. Wind is the primary threat, particularly up here in New York. We've got a little bit better chance of wind, but you could see wind damage and even hail back here in the western sections as we go through the afternoon with some of these thunderstorms. Tomorrow, not too bad, just general thunderstorms. Most of these areas that you see green from the central plains down into to the south central plains and then over into the eastern third of the country. Just if you've got outdoor plans, anything going on, just keep an eye to the sky. The best area for organized severe weather would be up here in the Dakotas, and it's not all that high. You could see some wind and hail up here as you go about your business. Just keep, stay attuned to the alerts and things like that and know what's going on. As we get through the afternoon today, you can see the radar kind of light up as we get on into this afternoon. There it is. Northeast, that's where we're seeing the threat of severe weather. Look at this little line cluster moving through New York. That's why the SPC's added this area in. We can see a little organization there, cluster of storms back where we've got a little bit of a flooding threat back here in Indiana and Illinois, and then of course down in Texas, up into New Mexico, and then just general scattered showers across the southeast. A lot of that activity will die down as we lose the heating of the day and then pop back up tomorrow. So kind of same regime, more along that frontal boundary. You could see a little bit better organized line of showers, a little bit more in the way of thunderstorm activity there. But again, torrential rainfall rates are going to be produced by these thunderstorms. So where you get training and you get a persistent thunderstorm, you could drop 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in an hour, hour and a half, something like that. And you see the coverage not quite as extensive, but we've got another boundary moving in out of Canada, a little trough up here, so we could see a little bit of a focus tomorrow in the Dakotas. Model's not showing a ton of activity up here, but take my word for it. You could still see a couple of instances of severe weather up there. There are your rainfall totals over the next 48 hours or so. Biggest footprint is up here in the interior Northeast, back through central Indiana and Illinois, back into the eastern sections of the southern plains down into South Texas. These are the areas that we're really watching, and then over here in Florida for flooding concerns. So going to see rainfall rates be very efficient and high, and thunderstorms drop a lot of rain, slow moving too. We don't have a lot of big energy moving through. As a matter of fact, here's our energy map, and you can see here's a piece of energy here. Another one stuck down here in Texas producing all of that rain. There's one right there. We're going to keep our eye on that. Here's another one working through up here in the Northeast, and here's another one coming in way up here. You can see that. So coming in like that. So this is all the energy in the pattern. If we put this on out into motion, check this out. So these things just kind of meander around and migrate slowly to the east up here. And as we get on into tomorrow, this will be the focus for more showers and thunderstorms along this boundary. Little piece working in here in the around Idaho and Montana. You can see that kind of light up with these little colors, and that'll spark off some showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. Up in the Dakotas, maybe bring a severe weather threat there. But there's our boundary, and along and east of that boundary will be the focus for thunderstorms. Now I'm going to roll this back and watch this area down here off the southeast coast. Watch this. See that spin? See how it spins as we go on out into Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday into Thursday. Look at that spin. That is a little bit of a disturbance in the upper and mid levels of the atmosphere. And what we're going to find is that there is a potential for that disturbance to develop, low potential, but a potential nonetheless, to develop into a tropical wave or an area of low pressure in the northern Gulf. Not likely to be anything like Chantal or even a tropical storm of any sort. None of the models are showing that, and the conditions don't necessarily favor it unless it just sort of lingers here more than the models are showing. But we're going to watch it and see anyway as we go on through. Check this out. So this is 850 millibars, about a mile up off the ground. You can see this thing just rotating, so we've got a little bit of a closed low at times at 850 millibars working through. This is going to enhance lift through Florida, really increase the chance for heavy precipitation through Florida and along the Gulf Coast, and eventually this is going to work inland over in the Louisiana and Mississippi area. And all this is going to do in terms of its impacts, really, it looks like at this point, is just enhance rainfall in these areas along the Gulf Coast and into Florida. So that's what we're looking for out of the tropics over the next several days. Nothing else looking too prevalent beyond that. But if I put the precipitation map in motion as we go on into Tuesday, through Tuesday into Wednesday into Thursday, look at all this rain along the Gulf Coast. Now you see rain up here too with additional systems moving into the north, but focusing on the Gulf Coast as we get on out through Wednesday and then on into way out in time. That's way too far out in time, but let's go back here. This will take us through the end of the week, and you can see plenty of rain down here in Florida, 1 to 2 inches widespread across the Gulf as well. And as we get on into next week, this system is still hanging out in here in the southern parts of the deep south, and could continue to enhance the rainfall around and along the Gulf. Now, looking out in time at the pattern, we start off here with a big ridge out here in the southwest, a little bit of troughing working through. So when you see this kind of a pattern, hot and dry in these areas, and you got troughing all the way back into Texas. So anywhere along and east of that line there is where you find a moist air mass and disturbances moving through to produce showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. As we go out in time, You see more troughing working back in here into the plains, so we're going to see an unsettled pattern as we get toward the middle of the week up here across the north, ridging across the northeast, building heat up here. Maybe get a little bit of a break from the heat as we get on in toward the middle of the week. But look at this ridge out here in the Atlantic. Watch that as we go on out of time. It migrates into the southeast as we get in toward next weekend, increasing temperatures along the east coast and maybe putting a cap somewhat on precipitation down here in the southeast, at least. The northern the jet stream still working across the northern tier, so we'll see showers up through there with storm systems moving across. But watch this, we get that retrograding ridge. This pattern is just retrograding, meaning the flow here in the south is kind of moving in this direction, while the flow here is progressive across the north, moving in that direction. That's not all that atypical, but it's interesting to see nonetheless. And this pattern continues to repeat and set up where you end up with a trough in the east, generally bringing unsettled weather and little cooler temperatures, not necessarily below normal, but near normal, maybe slightly a couple degrees either side of normal, and then this big trough in the central and western portion of the United States, keeping it hot out there. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the Weather Prediction Center and their forecast over 6 to 10 days, above in the southeast, up the east coast, above out here in the interior northern and northwestern section of the country, and then chance for below in the central sections of the country from the southwest up to the Great Lakes. That will slide, all of this slides a little bit to the west over time, and we start to get into near normal, at least a less of a signal for above normal in the southeast, and that increases out west, above in Alaska, above in Hawaii. There is your precipitation signal, and certainly seeing above normal in the south and east. We'll continue to see that up the eastern seaboard, much of the country above normal, below in the interior sections of the western portion of the country. Alaska, Hawaii, above normal. And here is your space weather report. We'll end up with this because we have been in geomagnetic storm conditions. There it is, minor geomagnetic storm conditions. So nothing all that important except this coronal hole stream has sent enhanced solar wind toward us, and that's what's increased that. And you can see that down here on the KP chart. No other big sunspots are producing anything right now, so not much to show there. There's the big coronal hole on the southern side of the sun moving toward us, but we'll keep a watch on it. There it is, big transequatorial coronal hole is now past us, so once the wind stream dies down, we'll have to watch out for a solar filament or a solar flare erupting to give us anything interesting here. There's that earthquake that occurred near Northridge, 5 kilometers below the surface, very shallow. I'm sure some of you felt that. It was a 4.0. If you did and you're watching from out there, you send me a comment, let me know. I'd love to hear anything you have to say about that. But 4.0, not big, but certainly feelable if it's shallow enough. And that one was. And here's your moon data, folks. Third quarter moon coming up on July the 17th. A new moon, completely dark, on July the 24th. And we are in a 92.1% moon, a waning gibbous at this point, folks. And that is pretty much the show for today. We have 51 days, 71 days until calendar fall, 51 days till meteorological fall. That starts on September the 1st. But calendar fall is what most people are familiar with, and that is September the 22nd. And that's it for today, folks. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. I'll be back tomorrow with a full episode, and we'll have a little bit more time to flesh out some stuff. But anyway, any questions, comments, put them in the comment section. Happy to answer those. I'll look at everything and leave a prayer request if there's something specific I can pray over for you. So that's it, and hope you have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.